Let's ride, y'all. BBM. BBM. Come on. Let's run it. Very nice. Okay.
What's that say?
This is for real.
Your debt is completely wiped off.
And so
0 times so far through 115 drafts. Essentially, I'm going to give you these 6 players I am fading for this upcoming season. As always, if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And the first player we'll talk about is Devon Achane. Now, we're going to go up top. This is the 204 going off the board as the RB10, and we're going to go pretty much in order down the top 100 of players that I am not drafting very much of. Now, I will say, as always, if you want to hop in these drafts, if you are saying, well, Devon Achane at the 204 is an amazing value, make sure you check out Underdog. Use promo code WRONG. When you play $5, you get $50 on the site. You can find a link to that in the description and the comment section down below. We actually did a stream yesterday on Underdog. We are bringing those back, and then as all of you guys know, once August happens, we will be drafting daily over on Underdog. Now, here is my gripe with Devon Achane. We did a video, my top 2 rounds, I ranked them, and I had him as my 203 as my RB8. So I was actually a little bit ahead of ADP at the time of recording that video, but many weeks have passed since then. I have adjusted my ranking since then, and I now have him as my RB12 as the 208, and somebody I kind of have buried behind the tier of running back of Amarian Hampton and Chase Brown, and I like A.J. Brown and Drake London even over Devon Achane. And here's why. It's so tough because I love Devon Achane. Anyone that has stuck around this channel for long enough, you know we loved him as a rookie. We loved him in year 2 when he flopped on his face. We loved him last year and he was awesome. And now we're in a spot where I just can't get there. To me, he's more of a 2-3 turn pick than he is a 1-2 turn pick. You have to take him in the early second. And I wish it was more complicated than this, but the Dolphins have the second highest odds to finish as the worst team in the NFL and get the first overall pick. When we look at the offensive line rankings, this is a great picture we're going to reference all video. This is from @fball_insights on Twitter. He took the composite preseason offensive line rankings from Mike Clay, Warren Sharp, 4for4, FTN, USA, and FantasyPoints.com. And when we take all of those together, you can see the Dolphins have the 30th ranked offensive line in the NFL. And the reason why that's a huge issue is because Mike McDaniel has long been
It's the train
piece of the Dolphins that has really masked that in this offense, where he has had the running back get out wide and a heavy zone scheme and get pulling guards and just kind of try and hide it as much as possible. He never had a good offensive line despite having really good rushing offenses with the Dolphins. Well, now he's on the Chargers. We now get Bobby Slowick in here, who isn't really known for having an awesome rushing efficiency scheme. And then on top of that, we're not going to get touchdowns. We're not going to get efficiency from the blockers. We're not going to get touchdowns in terms of efficiency, where the Miami Dolphins are projected to score the 30th most points in the NFL. This is the implied points from Vegas look-ahead lines compiled by @ConnorAllenNFL over on Twitter. So we have one of the worst teams in the NFL that is not going to score points, that has a bad offensive line. Devon Achane, don't get me wrong, he is a special talent that can break off huge runs and create his own efficiency, but we saw his rookie year, he was absurd. 7.8 yards per carry. One of the worst.
The Rams, Buffalo, Detroit. Yeah, I feel like, damn, DJ Moore, bro. Probably smash his ADP. Detroit, Dallas, Cincy, Baltimore, San Fran. Okay. Seattle. Green Bay. Chicago, Kansas City. Who's that? The Chargers, Philly, Washington, Jacksonville. In that middle. Tampa Bay. Actually, right in the middle.
Teams in the NFL that is not going to score points that has.
Connor Allen. Let me see if I can search his ass. Follow. Alright, I don't think I need to know these on, but whatever. Alright, let's lock in.
A bad offensive line. Devon Achane, don't get me wrong, he is a special talent that can break off huge runs and create his own efficiency, but we saw his rookie year, he was absurd. 7.8 yards per carry is an all-time number, 12.6% explosive run rate, all-time number. And then in year two, that crater, we had a lost season for Tua with the concussions, and then all of a sudden he's at 4.5 yards per carry, which is still solid for a running back. It's just lower for Devon Achane. And then his explosive run rate went from 12.6% down to 4.9%. Then we take away Tua. So now really his only path to relevancy, if the blocking isn't there, if the scoring isn't there, is to just be a PPR machine. And Tua has really been a huge boon for him in that department. In 36 career games with Tua, Devon Achane is on a 73 reception pace over a 17-game season. In 8 games without him, he is on a 36 reception pace. Now, I'm not saying I would project Devon Achane for 36 receptions, but it's not all that crazy to say that Malik Willis looks more like a Tyler Huntley than he does a Tua. This is somebody who scrambles a ton. A lot of those checkdowns are going to turn into scrambles. In Malik Willis's 3 career starts, he has had 14, 19, and 21 passes. It's going to be a low-volume passing offense. You're going to see a lot of scrambles instead of checkdowns. And we've seen Bobby Slowick, Houston OC, he comes over to the Dolphins. Of course, he wasn't Houston's OC last year, but he was with them for 2 years as the key play caller. He's now on the Dolphins. And he had Joe Mixon, who Joe Mixon had an awesome season with the Houston Texans, but it was more of a volume-based 10-plus touchdown role, where now with Devon Achane, he is 188 pounds in a bad offense with a bad win total. And Joe Mixon, someone who was peaked in the NFL at 60 receptions, had just 36 receptions with Bobby Slowick in Houston, despite it being one of Joe Mixon's more successful years in the NFL. So I just don't know that we're going to see the receiving upside fully realized. I don't know that we're going to get the efficiency we expect from Achane. I don't know that we're going to get really anything here. I think it's going to be a frustrating roster in terms of having Devon Achane on the squad. It's just going to be frustrating.
The 101,
more than what happens. There's going to be some truly ugly games here. And I think that he just profiles as more of a high-end RB2, low-end RB1 that you can probably get in the late second if all things were more objective. I think because of what he did last year and because of the talent he is on paper, he gets pushed into that early second. Then we'll talk about our second player in this video, Travis A-Chain. This is going to be the first video we talk about Travis A-Chain,
bro.
Formerly Travis Etienne. You guys let me know in the comments. I did a stream last night. You guys are telling me it's Travis A-Chain. It's Travis A-Chain. It's Travis A-Chain. It's what he went with in high school. And it's also a little bit weird to go from Devon A-Chan to Travis A-Chain. But here we are. And when we talk about running backs, we are chasing touchdowns and we are chasing receptions. With Travis A-Chain, he's going at the 307 as the RB15 off the board. I have drafted him 0 times in 115 drafts. 0 times have I clicked the button on Travis A-Chain. I just can't do it. A 3rd-round price tag. We are taking him over Kyron Williams, over Javonte Williams. We are taking him over good receivers like Zay Flowers and T. Higgins. And you are taking him over Garrett Wilson. And it's just a really good range. And I just struggle to see him really justifying a round 3 price tag. When I'm taking a running back in round 3, I would like you to have top 5 upside, monster upside, league-winning upside if I'm going to pass on the really strong wide receiver profiles in this range. And I just can't do it. We go with A-Chain. And now bear with me. We're going to go all the way back to his days at Clemson. I know people hate when I do that. But this is somebody that, coming out of school, was a very weird receiving profile. He had 5 receptions as a freshman. Then as a sophomore, his best year, where he had 1,600 rushing yards, 24 rushing touchdowns, he had just 12 catches. Then it seemed like because he was going to be draft eligible and because it was a thing that scouts cared about, that they really wanted to get him receptions on the back half of his career. So we saw 37 catches as a junior, 48 catches as a senior, and all of a sudden, I was even somebody when he came out of school of, he learned how to catch passes. He's going to be an explosive playmaking pass catcher in the NFL. And that was kind of his trajectory through 2 years, right? He has, of course, year 1, brutal injury. Year 2, 35 catches. Year 3, 58 catches. And it's like, all right, wheels all the way up. And then since then, he hasn't even cracked 40-plus catches. This is somebody that in 2023, when he was 6th among running backs and receptions, he was just 23rd among 49 running backs in yards per out run. He wasn't a very efficient receiver. And I think that it's also an indictment on his receiving prowess that Liam Cohen, a guy in Tampa Bay, he had Bucky Irving and Rachaad White both hit 45-plus catches in the same season. His RB1 in Travis A-Chain couldn't even hit 40-plus catches. It was literally a calling card for Liam Cohen to get receiving volume to his running backs. He then had Travis A-Chain, and he didn't use him in that role. And to me, what that says is that A-Chain isn't a real receiving option in the NFL at running back. He is probably capped at under 40 catches here. And we also see he's not going to have the entire receiving role. I hate to be like, there's still Alvin Kamara, but there's still Alvin Kamara. We can see from Zane Donani here on the bottom. He was in attendance for minicamp. And then the New Orleans Saints, I know that it's just the interns or whatever, but I think it just goes to show that Alvin Kamara is still an important piece to this franchise, to this entire team. Alvin Kamara has been there since he was a rookie. It seems like he wants to retire a Saint. He is still there. He is still a pass catcher. He was on pace to catch 50 balls last year over a 17-game, extrapolation. So now we have him getting squeezed for receptions, Travis A-Chain. Then we have some pretty brutal efficiency metrics. This is from Scott Barrett, somebody who's been in the space for a long time. You look at explosive run rate. You look at success rate. You look at yards after contact per attempt, missed tackles forced per attempt, EPA per attempt over the last 3 seasons, 2023, 2024, 2025, and it's really not that great. He is 3rd worst in yards per carry over that span, and it's why last year, even though he caught 36 balls, even though he scored 13 touchdowns, he was just the RB13 in points per game. He was the RB13 in points per game as the lead back on a team that was 6th in points scored. And it's because of the inefficiency, it's because of the lack of pass catching. And I just don't think the efficiency is going to bounce back in a meaningful way. I don't think he's going to see the receptions he needs to hit his ceiling. And then I also don't think he's going to get the touchdowns he needs to hit his ceiling, right? He had 13 last year and still wasn't an RB1 in points per game. And he now goes to the Saints, who is a big downgrade from Jacksonville. Jacksonville, again, 6th most points last year, which is why A-Chain had all of the touchdowns. You bring that all the way down to the Saints at 24th. So he goes from the 6th highest scoring offense to the 24th highest scoring offense. His touchdown upside is going to be capped there. His receiving upside is capped. And I just struggle to see how he absolutely crushes me. I think Kamara is going to be a really big thorn in his side. I think that he's going to be good for real life. But when we talk about Kellen Moore in this offense, I just want to play it through the air. It's going to be a high-paced, up-tempo offense with a lot of receptions to go around, and that's going to go to mainly the receivers. And I'm even coming around on someone like Jawan Johnson in this offense. We talk about where he's going in drafts right now. I have him behind Kyron. I have him behind Javonte. I would have him in my rankings between Garrett Wilson and Josh Jacobs as a mid to early 4th. Instead, he is a mid-3rd round pick over on Underdog. And if you want access to my rankings where that is reflected,
Look at
you can find that over on Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. I don't know why I said Stewart's, but I have rankings over there you can upload straight to Underdog. You can find that in the description and the comment section down below. Now, our third player we are not drafting very much of is Quinshon Judkins. We are drafting him just 0.9% of the time. He's going off the board at the 506 as the RB24. And sadly, this is very similar to Devon Achane, where Quinshon Judkins was the guy coming out of school that I was fighting wars over on my Dynasty channel. I was saying Judkins is as good, if not better, of a prospect than Trevion Henderson. He comes out last year, and Judkins looked like an unreal talent. That is not up for debate. But now we have him coming off a lower body injury, and we have him in a Cleveland Browns offense where it's even worse than the Dolphins. We look at the composite offensive line rankings. You see the Browns 32nd. So we are saying dead last offensive line. And then we look at the implied points per game, and we are talking dead last offensive implied points per game at 17.9 points per game. I mean, dead last in scoring and offensive line. So this is just already a brutal situation. And then you couple that with this. Last year, he was fed more volume when leading than when trailing. That's obvious, but it just goes to show what his role was. He was the between-the-tackles grinder that could make some of his own efficiency. But when we're talking about that, if they're not going to be in front of teams very often, they're going to be coming from behind, then all of a sudden you have the two-down grinder who is talented but on the Cleveland Browns. Then we have Todd Monken coming in, which is good for the offense. Maybe the offense will score more points because Todd Monken is great, but this is a really strong tweet from Ryan Heath showing that every single time that Todd Monken has called plays for an offense, there has been a different running back that leads the backfield in targets per game and then rush attempts per game. You can go all the way back to 2016 with Doug Martin and Charles Sims. You can go to Peyton Barber and Jaquiz Rogers. I think that's what we're going to see here with Dylan Sampson and Quinshon Judkins. So all of a sudden, Quinshon Judkins will be the lead back between the tackles grinder, but again, for the worst offensive line and the worst offense in the NFL in terms of preseason projections.
Damn, what a fluke.
I just can't get there. I think that Dylan Sampson is a real deal player. Somebody who had a 1.86 yards per out run last season. The only running back with a better yards per out run last year was Bijan Robinson. Dylan Sampson's one of these guys where in this class, to me, Dylan Sampson would have been on par with a prospect with somebody like Jadarian Price. He was a day 3 pick, a early day 3 pick, who should have been day 2, but was in a strong draft class with, of course, Scatabo, Tootin, R.J. Harvey, Caleb Johnson, Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins we're talking about here. So we have a split here where Judkins is going to be getting...
We got 2 week 17 stacks there.
None of the targets, really. All of the rush attempts, but on a team that's going to be playing from behind, it just gets really tricky for me. I don't see how he crushes, right? He's going at RB24. We're swinging for upside. We're trying to win our league, not hit a single. I don't know how Judkins gets there. It makes me really regret not taking him. One last nugget I didn't fully take in is just 1 of 7 running backs on the left have hit that target mark of 2.4 targets per game. That's what Quinshon Judkins was at last season. Monken is very set on having his running backs in certain roles. 2.4 targets per game is super low, and even that is going to be a high bar for Quinshon Judkins to climb. Then we'll talk about my fourth player here. And this is Mekhi Lemon. A little bit different. You guys know I love my rookies. I got flamed for liking Jeremiah Love. I got flamed for liking Carnell Tate in terms of the last 2 running backs and wide receivers that I want to bet everything on style video. Mekhi Lemon is one I can't get there on. He's going at the 701 as the wide receiver 35. I've drafted him 4.3% of the time. So not as low as Judkins and Achane, but pretty low. And I'm moving him down the rankings as someone that I just don't want to be drafting really, especially on Underdog, especially in half PPR. I get rookie wide receivers have upside. Like, that's been something I've pounded the table for. the entire time I've done this, right, you talk about the late season surges of Chase Claypool, Christian Watson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Rashee Rice, and the list goes on and on between Elijah Moore and Tank Dell and all of these players that won leagues. Mekhi Lemon could be that, but it's also really tough because he finds himself in an Eagles offense that is projected for the 31st most pass attempts in the NFL by Mike Clay. And then also, you are paying a premium here, where Carnell Tate, we talk about the underdog ADP versus Mike Clay projections. Now, why I care about Mike Clay is he's the ESPN projections guy. They over at ESPN are just trying to get everything correct. He's usually very conservative. He usually has rookies very low. You can see here he has Jordan Tyson 2 spots behind ADP. He has Mekhi Lemon 7 spots behind ADP. He has Omar Cooper 11 spots behind ADP. Him having Carnell, this is like a whole other situation, but why I like Carnell Tate is him having Carnell Tate ahead of ADP is a really strong sign. But Mekhi Lemon, he's projected as the wide receiver 42. You have to draft him as the wide receiver 35. And I just don't know what the upside is for him to smash at the wide receiver 35 price tag. Devontae Smith, as a rookie, was the wide receiver 36 in points per game. That was without A.J. Brown and with Jalen Hurts. Now all of a sudden you have Devontae Smith that Mekhi Lemon is working behind. Mekhi Lemon is going to be featured out of the slot. But there's a good chance that when they play heavy personnel with Eli Stowers and Dallas Goedert, all of a sudden it's going to be Dontavion Wicks on the outside. On top of that, yes, you have Devontae Smith, but then Dallas Goedert's pretty strong in his own right. I think Saquon Barkley's going to get a lot more run in the receiving game as well. And now all of a sudden he's getting squeezed for volume and routes. And I just don't see how he makes me pay and makes me really regret passing on him. As much as I like the rookies and their inherent upside, it's just not fully there. It's also a terrible fit. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Sean Mannion. I think he's going to challenge Jalen Hurts to target over the middle of the field more and play more under center. But it's just a bad marriage of skill sets here. This is from Datarama. Jalen Hurts' rate of throws over the middle of the field. Dead last in 2024, 35th of 36 QBs in 2025. And then when we talk about attempts less than 10 yards downfield over the middle of the field where Lemon thrives, we are talking in terms of rate of throws here. 38th in 2024, 32nd in 2025. So the skill set of Mekhi Lemon out of the slot, over the middle of the field, 10 yards and under ADOT, it's just not a point of emphasis at all really for Jalen Hurts. Again, I think that we're going to see him get squeezed for perimeter wide receiver routes when it comes to a guy like Dontavion Wicks, who's already getting a lot of buzz. I think we could see more 2 wide receiver sets. Devontae Smith is already going to be the top alpha in this offense. So I would just be shocked if Mekhi Lemon is somebody you can start on a weekly basis and feel good about this season. Then my 5th player you couldn't pay me to draft is Chuba Hubbard. Going off the board at the 704, I am drafting him 4.3% of the time. He's going off the board as the RB29. And I just can't get there. The longer that the season goes on, the offseason goes on, the more I'm just not interested in Chuba Hubbard. The reason why 4.3% is here and why I've been taking him at all is he goes in this range of like Jalen Warren and Ramondre Stevenson, of running backs that when you need some volume, you can just take him in best ball. But I am now pushing Jalen Warren ahead. I'm now pushing Ramondre Stevenson ahead. And Chuba Hubbard finds himself in an extremely fragile role in the 27th ranked implied points per game offense. I say fragile role because this is somebody in Dave Canales that has a true meritocracy. Ryan Heath points it out here. 2024, Chuba Hubbard is clearly outplaying Miles Sanders, and then we see his carry share go from 60% to 81%, and he's fully the guy. Then we talk about last season where Rico Dowdle is outplaying Chuba Hubbard. Rico Dowdle then gets thrust into the workhorse, bell cow style role, the main back on this team, and is fully supported by Dave Canales. Dave Canales is somebody who will ride the hot hand, that will actually put his foot down and say, yes, maybe you were the RB1 on the depth chart in week 1, but I am going to go with who is going to give this team the best benefit on the field. And that could very easily be Jonathan Brooks. He's getting a ton of buzz right now. I think he's going to just get, between now, training camp, preseason, week 1, I think that it's just going to be a Jonathan Brooks skyrocketing
3 S tiers.
Just rocket ship. I'm trying to think of it's like the Price is Right guy going up the mountain, where I just think that Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard are on a collision course, where we're going to see Chuba Hubbard's ADP actually come down and Jonathan Brooks to the point where maybe they're like a round apart of each other by the time we get to week 1. So I just don't want to be drafting Chuba Hubbard until then. And when we talk about a meritocracy, this is somebody in Chuba Hubbard that last year was one of the most inefficient runners in the NFL. This is from @KyleM_FF over on Twitter, showing that even pre-injury, weeks 1 through 4, dead last in explosive run rate, dead last missed tackles forced per attempt, dead last in yards after contact per attempt. Then he comes back. None of these things really rebound even post-injury in weeks 11 on. He was genuinely one of the worst rushers of the football last season. On top of that, he has a career 0.85 yards per out run. That would be a bottom percentile number in any given season. That is over every route he's ever ran in his career. He's not a plus in the receiving game. He was inefficient in the rushing game last year. I think we see Jonathan Brooks come in, take his receiving role first, and then once he shows some explosion, once he rips off some long runs, some long receptions, all of a sudden, Jonathan Brooks gets the receiving role, and then he creeps closer and closer to making it a true 50-50 split. Maybe even Jonathan Brooks nudging ahead by the end of the year. And when we're drafting Chuba Hubbard on the assumption that he's going to be the lead back here, I just don't love it. He was the RB40 in points per game last year. You're kind of giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt drafting at RB29 this season. The offensive line is good, but this is a team that is going to be slow-paced and not score a ton of points. So Chuba Hubbard's somebody that I am passing on for now. We'll see if his price comes down, but even then I think that I'll just be drafting Jonathan Brooks instead. Then my last player we'll talk about here is Michael Wilson. He goes off the board at the 901 as the wide receiver 45. Now, wide receiver 45 seems inconsequential, but this is still somebody in best ball you're relying on, right?
Another line.
You're drafting 3 wide receivers in the starting lineup and then a flex spot. Even in a managed league, you're drafting Michael Wilson. You're putting him on.
We're pretty much betting on that game being a banger. Oh shit, I just sold these shoes. Is that right now? Wait, what? Did I sell them? Elias. How do I... Oh, orders. Confirm. We can confirm that. Yes. Once shipping those emailed, ship within 3 business days. Yes. Okay. View. Nice. Damn, $12 commission fee.
On your bench and you're maybe rotating him into your flex spot. And I just don't think it's ever going to be clear when you start him. I also just don't think he's going to be a additive to your lineup, even in a best ball format. I just can't do it. I hate to be like it was a 5-game stretch without Marvin Harrison Jr., but that's truly what it was. You're talking 26 points per game in a 5-game split. Everything before that, 8 points per game in terms of no Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Marvin Harrison Jr. is playing. One of the crazier stats I've come across is that Jamar Chase had the most routes run in the NFL. Then it was Michael Wilson. Jamar Chase, in terms of route percentage, that's just percentage of pass plays he was running a route. He was first in the NFL running 96% of the team pass plays. He ran a route on 96% of the team pass plays. Michael Wilson was 35th, running 84% of the routes on his team pass plays, meaning they were within 1 route of each other, first most, second most. But Michael Wilson just benefited from a massive pie that he had, an 84% slice of, whereas Jamar Chase had the entire thing. Essentially saying that there were so many dropbacks and pass attempts with this team down the stretch that Michael Wilson ended up running
a lot of receivers I like here. I like this
less routes than Jamar Chase, despite being outside the top 30 in route share in the NFL. It is absolutely absurd, which means a lot of his production was inflated by high route volume, high drop back volume. They're going to be a high volume passing offense team this year, but not to this extent. This is unsustainable in terms of dropbacks per game. And even on a per out basis for Michael Wilson, he's never been even above average. He's never cleared a 1.6 yards per out run. That's a outside the top 35 wide receiver number, 1.37 on his entire career.
Yeah.
I just can't get there. He's going to be behind Trey McBride, likely behind Marvin Harrison Jr. in terms of the target distribution. You have a new play caller coming in, so he did the 25 point per game stretch under Drew Petzing. He's now gone. A new play caller is not going to honor a 5-game stretch in the new season. So I think it's going to be one of those things we look back on as a weird flash in the pan, and that Michael Wilson's not going to be somebody you can even really start on a weekly basis in fantasy. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's where I'm at. Only drafting him 2.6% of the time.
I don't think you're wrong.
On underdog, as always. If you want to hop on underdog and draft over there, make sure you check him out. Use promo code RON. When you play $5, you will get $50 on the site. We will be drafting more and more on stream as this offseason rolls on. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, and I will see y'all in
the next one.
There is one key difference between running backs and wide receivers that is going to change the way you play fantasy football. With running backs, we know that they are highly coveted, and if you have a great one like Christian McCaffrey last year, they can make your season. However, we also know, if you've been watching previous videos, that you need breakouts on your team if you want to be competing for a championship. And we also know that wide receivers have compared to these other two, I can see that. But in all reality, I think as far as upside goes, I think Luther Burden can absolutely smash that. Now you have to factor in his price is going to be a lot higher than Colston Loveland, then Roma Dunze especially. But as far as upside potential goes, I think we're going to really see that here with Luther Burden more than.
This is for all the dumbasses who think I don't know how to work my firearm. This is Jasmine, okay? Jasmine is having a problem right now with her bird carrier group, right? She won't pull back.
All right. RB traps.
If you're drafting one of these running backs, it's a good thing you're seeing this video because these are the 4 biggest running back traps in fantasy football this year. Starting with Jonathan Taylor, who was great with a healthy Daniel Jones, but cratered to the running back 23 in points per game after Jones tore his Achilles. Now, I don't think it'll be as bad as it was with Riley Leonard and Phillip Rivers, but you're spending premium capital at his likely ceiling because he massively outperformed his expected output last year.
Yeah, he was going in the second round.
Ceiling truly isn't as high as you think it is. Next is Ashton Genty, and we all know how talented he is and what a great hire Clint Kubiak was for this team, but are we sure that
Yeah, we'll go. Let's go Naylor. Man. 7. Gadsden. Yeah, we'll get some more pieces of this Chargers. Oh. No Naylor, so hopefully, well, let's see. Mendoza. Hopefully we can get Mendoza. I mean, there's no more quarterbacks left. Holy shit. There's literally no quarterbacks. Mendoza's the only one left. Rodgers, yeah. Gino, who fucking knows? And I'm cool with Jacoby. Tua. Shador. We got Hurts. Hopefully he could carry us there at that position. But man, the QB's got bought up. People are paying high prices for the QBs in this draft. Or is this their ADP? I have no idea. Willis, Darnold, I feel like Willis went. No? Looks like got him after ADP. Maybe I'm just tripping. I'm just tripping.
Everything clicks this year in Vegas. This offense was the
There's
worst
no way
in
I've seen
scoring,
this dude.
yards per carry, explosive run rate, if things around him two that you drafted in the first round. The next two guys are in the same tier of running backs, but before I get to them, you can see exactly where we'd be more comfortable taking these guys based on our rankings and so much more on our brand new app that drops July 15th.
Yeah.
David Montgomery and Quinshon Judkins are really two peas in the same pod. They don't catch passes, they live and die by the end zone, and they don't generate breakaway runs, so true.
I'm coming up here. Only got 3 running backs. So yeah, we're definitely going to take Mendoza and B-Rob or Sampson. Kamara? Yeah, we'll take Mendoza and then B-Rob. Yeah. Got Mendoza and Naylor. Fuck with it. Two, 5, 8, 3. Gibbs, Love, Manungai. I should be good. Tank Dell. It's actually an amazing scoop. If he falls. Cool. Tank Dell. Pat Fryermuth. Michael Mayer. Gesicki. Stowers. Joking. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah. These guys, whatever. We're gonna go Dell and Fryermuth. And then we just pick whoever at RB. Alrighty. Hopefully Mendoza's starting by week 10. But we're going to have to rely on Hurts heavy. coaching changes, but you will.
Done with wedding season?
What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement.
Good
I'm
morning.
Ron, and one of the biggest edges in fantasy
Ron.
football is staying ahead of the coaching changes around the NFL. Last year, we had a lot of big offenses step up with new play callers. You had New England with Josh McDaniels. You had Seattle with Clint Kubiak. You had the Jaguars with Liam Cohen. You had the Bears with Ben Johnson. These were top 10 offenses that delivered big hits, right? We're talking JSN, Drake May, the guys on the Jaguars, Caleb Williams. Across the board, this is where we can kind of find the gems in fantasy football. On the other side of that, we have catastrophic blowups. That
I
was
guess I can
last
do
year.
that.
Chip Kelly with the Raiders, Kevin Patullo with the Eagles. Deal in
Hello.
fantasy. So what better time than to bring on a good friend of the channel? If you watch this channel at all,
Whatever.
every video I'm referencing a Ryan Heath tweet. You can find him at RyanJ_Heath on Twitter. He works over at Fantasy Points and just dropped an article covering every single play caller change in the NFL this season. We have 18 of them. So a lot to go over today. How is it going, Ryan?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Really excited to talk about all
Really
of these play
excited.
callers. It's article release day for me. It's just like Christmas. I finally get to have it out there after working on it for weeks and weeks. So yeah, I'm super pumped. Let's get into all these guys you want to talk about.
I love to hear it. Now, before we even dive
Really
into
fun.
each individual new play caller, I think it's good to outline what actually matters, what we're looking for, what are the positives, what are the negatives. I think the first thing I want to cover is this McShanahan tree idea that you have spoken of over the past couple of years. The issue is that now like about half of the league is of course under your McShanahan tree. I'm curious, what has been that cheat code in the NFL? We have been long looking for the Konami code QBs later on, but the McShanahan tree has been an interesting that you've kind of uncovered.
Yeah, so the Konami code, the hypermobile quarterbacks definitely are still a cheat code, even in the later rounds. When we look since 2022, yeah, some of the guys who have really outperformed their ADP posted really big playoff win rates in ESPN managed leagues have been the mobile guys, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Justin Fields, in their different years, right? But beyond that, kind of looking beyond just the guys who run, if we're talking about drafting a late round quarterback, yeah, the McShanahan quarterbacks that are playing in one of those offenses, a Shanahan tree offense
land
or
on
a
the team,
McVay
right?
tree offense, have also made up basically all of the other late round quarterback hits that we've seen over the past several years. In 2023, we had C.J. Stroud as a rookie playing for Bobby Slowick, a McShanahan tree coach, have like a really strong rookie season, right?
All right.
Brock
Ball
Purdy in
Mania
2023, Matthew Stafford
Finito.
in 2021 and 2025. Basically, all of these late round hits that aren't the super hypermobile guys that run a ton have been in this